Okay, so today we're going to be solving systems of equations given word problems. So in front of you, you have your packet, and it should look like this. Just put the date on it, please, 2/28/14, and let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the let statements. I know you're all very excited to be using let statements yet again. All right, here we have an example 1. Find the two numbers whose sum is 29 and whose difference is 15. Okay, that'll work. I have two numbers. I'm going to call them x and y. I have to do a let statement. Let x equal one number, y equal another number. Doesn't have to be fancy. Let's look at what our steps are. So here we have step 1. I have to write a let statement. Step 2, I have to write the equations now. They're no longer provided to me. Step 3, I want to determine which method to use for solving. Some of them will be easier to use elimination method, for example, or substitution method. That's why you needed to learn all three methods. Step 4 was to find the solution, which is your x, y, and step 5 is finally to check your solutions in both equations. So let's look at the first part of the sentence. Find the two numbers whose sum is 29. I've labeled my two numbers x and y. Okay, and I also know that sum means to add. Difference means to subtract. So I want you to think about that for a little bit. Two numbers, x and y, whose sum is 29. Yep, I'm going to be adding the two together. X plus y equals 29, whose difference, x minus y, is, remember is our equal sign, 15. Now, I've written my equations, and now I'm on to step 3, which is right here. I want to determine the method. Well, this method is pretty much a no-brainer. I'm going to use my elimination method. If I add these two together, immediately I see that my y's will cancel. 2x equals 44. Solve for x, and x equals 22. Now, it's the same as we've been working on. Now I want to find my y. Choose one of the equations. Either one will work. X plus y equals 29. Substitute in my x, where my x is, plus y equals 29, and y equals 7. So my solution, and please label your solution, xy, x is 22, y is 7. Now, because we're needing more space and I'm going to need more time, I'm going to ask you to do the check on your own. And I will be looking at your notes, and if the check is not there, guess what? I'm going to make you do it. So, do your check, make sure you write your original equations, substitute in your x and your y, and this solution should work in both. Okay, moving on. Sometimes your problems aren't going to be that simple. Okay, so let's go down to example 2. A baseball manager bought 4 bats and 9 balls for $76.50. On another day, she bought 3 bats and 12 balls for $81. Now immediately you can see we're dealing with two different items. One item is bats, the other item is balls. Let's label them or name them x and y. So there's my let statement. I'm going to let x equal the cost of the bats, and I'm going to let y equal the cost of the balls. Now, I know it's cost because if I read on, it's saying how much did she pay for each bat. So if we read very closely, and I want to highlight what I'm looking at so you look at the same thing. She bought 4 bats, and I know bats, according to my let statement, is x. She bought 4 of them. And she bought 9 balls. Okay, well, I know according to my let statement that balls are Y. So immediately you're seeing what's happening. 4x and meaning plus, there's your equals 7650. And the more you do these, the more you're going to see how easy they can work out to be. So here we have 4x plus 9y equaling 7650. And in the second sentence, 3 bats, which would be, let me do that in a different color, 3x plus 12y equaling $81. Now, going back, if we scroll up and we see step 3 says that we have to determine which method to use for solving. Now, if I use the elimination method, I'm going to have to multiply through both equations by a number, which is going to possibly make it more troublesome for you. So how I'm going to show you is through substitution. Now I can see that if I take this equation and solve it for x, watch what happens. So I get 3x equals negative 12y, bringing this y to the other side, plus 81, dividing by 3, I wind up with x equals negative 4y plus 27. Now I'm going to use my substitution. So I'm going to take what this equals and substitute it into my other equation, which happens to be this equation here. Okay, so 4x plus 9y equals 7650. Substituting in what I found x to be, right here, 4 times negative 4y plus 27 plus 9y equals 7650. Okay? Pause here, go through the math, see if you can come up with what I'm going to be doing. Okay, welcome back. Did you do your distributing throughout? Did you wind up, whoops, with negative 16y plus 108 plus 9y. Now this 9y doesn't get included in the distributing because it's not in there, so it doesn't get distributed multiplied by the 4. Equals 7650. Combining like terms, I wind up with negative 7y equaling negative 3150. Solving for y equals $4.50. Okay, not too bad. Now I want to find my x using one of the original equations. I'm choosing 4x plus 9y equaling 7650. 4x plus 9 times the 450 equals 7650. 4x equals 36 and x equals 9. Okay, so now I want to come back and label the cost of my bats. That's my x. That's $9. And the cost of the balls was $4.50. Again, you're going to want to check this and make sure that when you substitute in that x and that y, each equation is going to balance. Okay, moving on. Now, this is just like number 1, so I want you to try this on your own. I've shown you what the let statements are going to look like. Please try it on your own. It's not that difficult. Okay. Good. Now, let's look at your work. Did you get this answer? Solution 1311? I hope so. Okay, you're going to want to check that again. I'm not checking it just because we're saving time, but I will check your notes come Monday. Let's look at the next page. And on example 4, we're talking about pretzels and soda. Same type of problem again. They're very similar. I have 3 pretzels and I've labeled my pretzels in my let statement to be X, and my soda, which I have 1 of, is going to be Y. Take a moment and see if you can set up the word problem. The 2 equations. Okay, let's see if your equations look like this. Whoops. Do your equations look like this? I hope so. Now I noticed that my y's both have the same coefficient of 1, but they're not opposite signs. Okay, so I'm going to multiply through one of my equations by a negative, which when I do that and I add them together, I wind up with X being 75 cents. I'm going to find my Y by substituting in, and Y equals 50 cents. Don't forget to label your answer. Going back up into the word problem, 75 cents for a pretzel and 50 cents for a soda. Okay? All right, right off to the side, any questions that you might have? Okay, this video is just 12 minutes long, so it's not too bad. Rewatch it if you need to, and try to do example 5 on your own before you get to class. Okay, try this one on your own and see how you do. This is very similar to examples 1 and 3. Good luck, and I will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.